Hello, we are Drauma Bonded.
Welcome to our podcast. I'm Jess,
I'm Mandy.
and we are Drauma Bonded, a podcast where we bond over the drama
And trauma.
in the Bachelor multiverse.
And throughout Western pop culture.
Hey, friend from afar.
Hi from Sedona.
Yeah. How's the weather down there?
It was nice the first 2 days. Unfortunately, we're getting some of the storm you guys are getting. Definitely not to the same extent, because I have seen some pictures of Salt Lake, and the amount of snow is crazy.
It is wild. There was my yard had no snow, and now we've replenished what feels like probably 2 months worth of snow in less than 24 hours.
Holy shit.
Yeah. What a time.
Yeah, it's just raining and windy here. It definitely has gotten a lot chillier, which is kind of a bummer, but we're still grateful to be here.
Good. Are you excited to talk about tonight's episode? Or not tonight, I guess, this most recent episode, episode 5.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, this is probably one of the most boring episodes of The Bachelor I have ever survived.
Yeah, I was not super pumped to watch it myself. It took me 2 goes.
And I felt really bad for the women in this episode as well. I mean, I guess bad for everyone, but it just seemed like, it was definitely raining on everyone's parade and everyone was struggling.
Yeah, I agree. I just wanted to start out with a few thoughts that I had about the episode, sort of generally, if that's okay that
Okay.
I share some of those with you.
Yes, please.
Okay, so these are fashion thoughts. First off, I need these women to wear their hair up. Gabi, in particular, on that date, had the dress with the sleeves, and she looked like a little girl sitting there with her hair just kind of all cascading down on top of all of the ruffles that sat on her shoulders. Like, guys, pull your hair away from your neck so that we can see these beautiful dress lines. And I don't know, it feels like all the time. And I thought this the first episode too. These dresses are magnificent. They look so good in them. With their hair out of their way, we can get the full picture. But the hair down and curled just feels too casual for these dresses.
I agree. I
Yeah.
also, well, Greer wore her hair up a fair amount this episode, and there was multiple times where I was like, wow, her hair looks really cute up.
For
So
sure. And
that ties
Katie
in with your thought.
and Kat also had their hair up, which was yes, this is how you do it. My thought too is always dress appropriately for the weather. Kylie. Because I thought Charity looked so cute in her sweater with her hair up in a bun. That's how you do it.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been there where you're trying to dress to impress, but you're also not wanting to freeze. It is a tricky thing to balance, but I think Charity did it perfectly. You can look cute and casual and stay warm at the same time. Your boobs don't always have to be out.
Yeah. Less is not always more.
And that's not a knock on Kylie, but I did feel bad that she was freezing the entire date.
Oh, for sure. Especially when she didn't even get the payout of having dressed cute to have Zach see her dressing cute. So
Yeah, that's the worst part.
yeah. And women, you get to wear what you want. Just for your own comfort. Sweaters.
And if you're more comfortable, you're probably going to be more attractive to whoever you're impressing.
It's true. I love though that it seemed like she might have been the only one with an umbrella.
Oh, that is true.
Which made me laugh. So she was kind of on it, kind of not.
She was more prepared in some ways.
Absolutely. Sweater vests have been apparently making a comeback, and I am here for it. Loved Katie's sweater vest. And I think she also has a pink one.
Ooh, fun.
I need to figure out where those are from. Last thing on fashion, Kat had some killer dark acid wash jeans that I now need to go find.
Ooh, yes, I saw those too. If you find them, please loop us in. Maybe we can share that on our social media.
Yeah, where to find good jeans. I will let you know.
Jess is really good at figuring out where the outfits are from and sharing them with me. So if you guys are interested in that, we could also maybe do better at sharing those.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions. The last thing I just kind of like overall thought on this is Zoom sucks. Like, having had so many Zoom interviews looking for another job, I can tell you that it is the most awkward, uncomfortable thing ever. And I cannot imagine trying to have a Zoom date with a guy that I have just most recently met.
Yeah, I guess it's slightly better than nothing, but it also feels awkward.
Yeah.
I actually don't know personally if it is better than nothing.
I think maybe for the sake of like getting to see Zach, but it feels like they shouldn't have had the rose ceremony. How many episodes have we had where they delay the rose ceremony?
That's what I was upset about. I was like, so you cancel the group date and you cancel Charity's one-on-one, and now you're not going to cancel the rose ceremony? Like, that to me seems, if I was the women, I would have been pissed.
Yeah, I think that that's like it's not fair to them at all.
Yeah, and I guess the women that were a little on edge of not having enough time, like, I don't know, Mercedes and Greer and Kylie, and whoever else hasn't gotten on one-on-one, like, I can understand them being like, I need some time with him before we go into this rose ceremony. But aside from that, I thought the whole thing was just a little cringy and awkward.
Yeah. I have some thoughts when we get to our drama rating. I will expand on.
Okay.
Let's talk about Gabby's date. The so-called pretty woman date.
Wow, this was like the Pretty Woman date on steroids.
No kidding. I really dislike all of this royalty talk. Colonizers suck. Like, why do we glorify this? I don't know. It was just weird to me, and everybody being so excited to be treated like royalty. Like, I don't know. I don't buy it.
I think it's just like a kitschy cultural thing that's, kind of touristy and in the moment.
Yeah, the corgis were fun. I could really get behind the corgis.
Yes, they were very cute in their little outfits. I
Yeah.
did think it was funny when Zach was like, "We're in London. There's royalty here." It's like, okay, well, yes, we know.
Yeah, it doesn't really make it special, but sure, Zach.
I
Um,
also thought it was confusing that everyone was referring to London as like the city of romance or a place to fall in love.
yes, like everywhere we go cannot be the city of love.
Yeah, and I'm sure many people do fall in love with London, but I don't think London is known for being a setting of romance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I also caught that. I was like, nope, nope, and nope. It's fun to go, but
Yeah, and like we got lots of bad English accents happening.
so many bad English accents happening. Uh, I mean, her date, we talked about this a little bit last week, is still also weird just because like Zach isn't even the one that can afford a date like this. So it's not like Zach is doing this on behalf of Gabby.
I
Um,
know.
how awkward too to like try on dresses. And they didn't give her a mirror to see what she looked like.
Oh my gosh, I'd be like, well, not going out unless I can see it.
Yeah. I was like, that's kind of bizarre. Um, the
I did
perfume thing.
appreciate that
Oh,
she kind of brought that up on their one-on-one.
yeah.
She talked about, maybe having some insecurities. Maybe those came from a previous relationship, but she did bring up on the date when they were having dinner how she had some insecurities, putting on that dress and coming out and wanting to feel beautiful, but also all the insecurities that are attached to that. And I was like, Jess and I have actually talked about that. And so I thought it was nice that she kind of brought some awareness to that. And obviously, Zach did make her feel beautiful in the moment. So that was
Absolutely.
something she was appreciative of. But I did think it was nice that she kind of was like, this isn't necessarily a really comfortable situation for the woman either.
No, it's not. And then on top of that, I do feel like it puts a target on her back to just walk in the door with bags and bags and bags of things. Like that clearly was
Oh,
really hard
totally.
for the women to see. Uh, and I love that Gabby was like, I'm not trying to, what did she say? Something to the effect of like, she's not trying to brag. Like, but you literally just showed them every single piece of clothing and jewelry you bought, including diamond earrings and Jimmy Choo shoes.
I
So
do you think production told her to go in and do all of that, or do you think it was kind of just like the women asking, "What else?" or "What did you do?" or I don't know,
I
or
could see
what
it
do you
going either
think?
way. I could definitely see women feeling like it would be better. It's easier to feign excitement over stuff than it is to pretend that you're excited that she got that date. So just by like seeing everything, you can kind of gush over the items rather than have to focus on you not getting that date and getting that time with Zach or the Jimmy Choos.
Yeah, it was interesting because before the date, when Gabby got the one-on-one, I wrote in my notes, the women are a little too supportive of each other. Just because while I understand they're all friends and they all care and support each other, it does kind of come across a little fake and forced when they're trying to be excited for these one-on-ones.
Yeah, I
And
agree
then
with that.
on the flip end of the date, when she brought in all the bags, you could definitely tell how much more on edge they were seeing the result of the date.
Yeah.
Um, and while I do think Greer kind of took it a little bit over the top and made it a little bit too much about her, I did think, any woman would struggle in that environment and anyone would have a hard time, I guess, not wishing that they were on that date. Like, I did think it was interesting. So many of the women were like, this date would have fit me perfectly. And I'm like, okay, any woman
Yeah.
would have liked to go shopping for a day. That says nothing about you and your personality and your connection with Zach.
I agree completely. I know. I love that. That was my personality to a T. And it's like, yeah, who wouldn't want to go shopping on somebody else's dime? Duh. That would be awesome.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, I think that's cringy. I really struggle with that. I just that date is not my favorite. And like I don't get a ton of enjoyment of watching the women, whoever gets to go, enjoy this either because it is just kind of a fraught experience. Going back to their evening portion though, did you notice that Zach opened up to her?
Yeah.
I don't think he's opened up to any of the other women. Like he has, gotten a lot from Brooklyn, from Katie, from Kat, from Allie, but like he's never in return shared anything. And this time he did.
Yeah. I think that means a lot.
I do too. And I wasn't entirely sure that I like could feel a lot of chemistry between them, but clearly I'm missing something, through the experience of just watching them because the way Zach opened up to her and shared his experiences too tells me that I think he's really into her.
I do think, even though there was kind of the awkward music playing during the perfume part of the date, there was something in the way that they were able to interact with each other that felt very comfortable and easy and casual. And I don't think I've necessarily seen that with other women.
I would agree with that. And he did bring that up too, that they didn't feel like an awkward nervousness, that they were able to just be themselves around each other.
Yeah, and actually, in my notes, I referenced that you originally said that you thought that their senses of humor paired well together, and I said Jess was right. I think that they do kind of share that together.
They do. I do believe that still. I just am sad. Like I see the comfort. I just think and maybe it's because I'm seeing different types of chemistry and their chemistry doesn't convey well visually. Whereas, Ariel or I feel like Katie or Kat, it's sort of like it read a little differently on screen. But yeah, I think that their demeanors are very compatible and they are clearly comfortable together.
Yeah, and not to say that they don't look, comfortable kissing each other, but their chemistry could be maybe a little bit more deeper than just
Mm-hmm.
physical, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little bit more of an emotional chemistry where they just feel really close to each other or really natural around each other.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So it was cool to see. Like I'm feeling a, good about having Gabby in my top four. We'll
Yeah, you should.
see how that pans out. Was there anything else on that date you wanted to talk about?
I mean, out of the 3 dresses she tried on, I definitely would have chosen the crazy sparkly dress.
Oh, same. That was stunning.
I didn't think that I mean, the dress she picked was also gorgeous. I totally agree with the hair up comment that you made earlier because the shoulder detail was one of the best parts of the dress. and it just was hidden with her hair, but it was pretty. But the sparkly dress to me was like next level. It was like movie
Va-va-voom.
star.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
To each their own, though.
I wonder if they actually get a choice or if, you know,
Oh,
she
that's fair.
she genuinely picked that one, or if it's sort of like, here's the dress and the price point we want you to have, but have fun trying on incredibly expensive gowns.
Well, and also interesting that they obviously did a lot more shopping that we didn't get to see, right? Because we didn't see the earrings, we didn't see the shoes, unless they just kind of give them those.
Or that cute crop top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was like a green silk dress that she pulled out of a bag.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know what? Shopping date also fits my personality.
Yeah, I mean, hell yeah. And that was, I mean, again, I would have loved a date like that, but also when these women are so upset, it's like, this isn't really what life would be like with Zach.
Right. Zach's
You
not
know,
going to
like
treat you
this
like
is a,
royalty. You're not going to get to go on constant shopping sprees and
yeah, this
have
is
a
a
butler serve you
fantasy.
tea.
This isn't really an example of like what your relationship would look like outside of the show, which I do think that some of these dates, like ATVing with Brooklyn, or I'm trying to think, like maybe some of the more just like explore the city type of dates. Like there
Yeah.
are dates where I feel like it's a better, like more genuine interaction based on the activity that you're doing together. And this is just like something that you'd probably never actually experience in normal life.
Well, and not to beat a dead horse, but it's also a really awkward situation too. It's not like this gives anybody a chance to like really shine personality wise.
Yeah, like I would probably much rather go on that date with a girlfriend.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
If someone could just foot the bill and me and my best girlfriend could just go, like you and me, Jess, we could do some serious damage.
Oh my God. Yeah. Can you imagine? Ugh, would love it. No, I agree. I'm sort of just poking fun at the girls mostly rudely. Uh, yeah, that date, man. But what do we think about the girls having to go on the group date without Zach?
Well, really quick,
Oh
let's
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about how upset Greer was and how she kept referencing her T tattoo.
Should we just talk about Greer?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk about Greer.
Let's talk about Greer. I think that's a good segue into that. Okay.
So we have heard very little from Greer since she got the first impression rose. I believe we brought this up last week.
Yeah.
Well, this week we got more of Greer, but it basically was Greer kind of starting to implode a little bit from, she's starting to vocalize her insecurities about, I got the first impression rose, but basically since then, we've made no connection. So she's kind of validating all the things that we are seeing. And so apparently she has this cup of tea tattoo on her arm, and she communicated to Zach how important tea was in her family and to her, and maybe she showed him her tattoo. I don't know. But she really, what it seemed like, expected to get this one-on-one based off of those conversations that she had had with Zach.
Yeah.
And when she didn't, I think she took it really personally. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I guess mention the T tattoo once, but like I just felt like if she mentioned the T tattoo one more time, I was about to get up and scream on behalf of the girls, like it's not the Greer show. Everyone's upset too.
Yep. I agree. Greer really rubbed me wrong this episode. I feel like, the tea thing was really weird. It felt to me like she was even maybe more upset, like jealous of the shopping as well. Like it just wasn't really a good look. And I do take your point of like it's really disingenuous of all the girls to pretend like they're fine with everything, but Greer storming off just was not the move for that moment.
Well, and her like rolling her eyes or like not looking at the thing. It's like I honestly think it's okay to be like, "Hey, Gabby, it looks like you had a lovely time. I'm feeling a little emotional, and so I'm just going to excuse myself."
Absolutely communicate rather than, yeah, just kind of stomp off because you do owe it to the women in the house that you're going to live with, presumably for another few weeks, to communicate how things are going. And that, like, Gabby, I'm not mad at you. I just,
Yeah, her issue isn't with Gabby, it's with the situation. But she's taking it out on Gabby.
yeah, just making Gabby feel bad about it. And Katie saying, no, that's on her. Let you get to have your moment was really sweet. But also, like, God, you guys. Whew, you can be upset.
Yeah. Lots of Greer all of a sudden when we haven't had much of her.
I know. I also felt like, can we just finish out Greer's arc a little bit too?
Yeah,
So when
let's do it.
she tried to, when they finally got to have a little bit of one-on-one time over Zoom, I felt like Zach wasn't
Oh
overly
gosh.
impressed when she's like, I just want to stare at myself. And he's like, what? You just look at you? Not the person you're talking to? And she's like, well, I try to make eye contact, but I get
Oh my
distracted by
gosh,
me. I
yeah.
was like, girl, you sound like she came across very young and immature through that. I was like,
No,
ooh,
she did. And so not a good look in front of Zach. And then when she tried to, I do feel bad about this because when she brought up the job thing, it was purely out of her effort to relate to what he was
absolutely.
experiencing. And so that was just cringy and uncomfortable because I definitely think she was just trying to be like, yeah, you must be really struggling because it's hard. And I kind of experienced a similar thing at work and la la la. So I felt like it was coming out of a place of like trying to relate to what he was going through. And instead it totally crashed and burned. And I mean, he wasn't really upset. I thought it was weird that she was telling the women, like, oh my gosh, he was so upset because he wasn't. But I totally understand that it was an awkward, uncomfortable moment and that you would just want to crawl out of your skin and die after that interaction.
Absolutely. And especially when she talked about it too, the idea that like they wasted their time hashing that out more than just being able to talk about things. Yeah, I'm with you. I felt like he overreacted. And I do think though it's a good example of like when you are trying to relate to somebody, don't be like so specific. She could have talked about just COVID making you feel like crap and, just
Yeah.
generally not being an awesome thing and then missing out on things as a result. And, I understand where he might be a little defensive, but I do feel like neither of them looked particularly good in that moment.
No,
But also
it was
having had
very
COVID,
uncomfortable.
man, I can also see being just kind of grumpy and tired. You don't sleep, you feel terrible. And then when you're actually missing out on like a once in a lifetime experience, I don't know, that's got to feel pretty terrible.
Yeah, like don't compare my discomfort to a sales deadline. Thanks.
Yeah, like, not great, but Greer really struggled this episode and I don't think she's going to be around for much longer. The last one to get a rose doesn't ever seem to do well.
I was not surprised she stayed, but maybe a little disappointed that she stayed.
What do they call the rose when it's a producer like prompted rose? There's a term for it and I can't quite remember what it is.
I
Um,
don't know. I would maybe just say producer pick, but I don't know if that's what you were looking for.
no, I'll look into it, but I wonder if she isn't somebody that production wants to keep around because she is really dramatic. She's making good television in a way. All the other women are being really cordial and polite and rallying around one another. They need somebody to disrupt the peace.
Yeah, I have a friend who is questioning whether Zach was really sick or not. She's wondering if this is all fake because they don't have any other drama going on. What do you think?
I think Zach looked sick. Like when he was giving those interviews, he looked kind of just, I don't know, sickly,
My
pale.
one question is if Zach had COVID, I guess it doesn't matter because Gabby came and interacted with all the women, but technically, she would have been exposed and maybe should have done some sort of version of quarantining considering the exposure. But I guess because she already interacted with the women before they knew, maybe they didn't care. That was one thing that I thought was a little confusing.
Yeah, I think uh the protocols for that have really changed, turning more into like if you're not symptomatic and you're testing negative, you're fine. And I would also say, COVID has this really weird ability in terms of contagion in that you don't really know, like it's not clear, I still think to scientists, like who gets it and who doesn't in certain situations and like why some events are super spreader events and why others are not. And like one person in a household will get COVID and nobody else does. It's a really bizarre
Right.
phenomenon. So like it does happen. I don't think this is manufactured drama. I do think Zach is pretty sick. I also don't think Zach would go along with it. He doesn't. I understand like maybe he doesn't seem to have like the most backbone as we saw when it came to Kylie and or not Ariel, Anastasia having a row. But I think with this, Zach would be like, hard pass. I'm not going to miss out on getting to kiss all my women.
Yeah, and it was disappointing that it affected the group date and another one-on-one. That really is lost time considering the time schedule.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Did you have anything else on Greer?
Nope, done with Greer.
Cool. So that group date that they all went on alone seemed, I would have a hard time having fun in those situations. I almost feel like they should have just let them choose if they wanted to go on the date or just like stay home and mope.
Well, and then the fact that the girls, this is one of the things that made me the most furious. I hate that they allowed those women to dress up for the cocktail party, thinking there was
Yeah.
a chance that Zach would show up, and for them to put in all of that effort and to have him not show up. Like,
like,
that was
to take off
so
a
brutal.
full face of makeup and that is a lot of work
Also,
to get to that point where they all looked like that.
I mean, you know that if you're one of those women, you have, only so many nice dresses, and you have to be strategic about which nice dress to wear when.
Yep.
And so that's just a waste of a dress because now you've worn it on television.
Yep, it's done. Didn't Gabi last season get to re-wear one of her dresses that because there was a canceled cocktail party because of Logan?
Oh, I don't remember.
So
But
it's possible, but I agree with you. It's not ideal. It's not what you want to do. You have one dress for every occasion and you don't repeat.
yeah, ugh. Just tell them before they get ready that it's not happening. That just felt shitty.
Yeah, the cocktail party was a huge disappointment. I'm sure they knew long before those women got ready that they weren't going to have that cocktail party. That was just so that we could watch them gathered up and like witness the disappointment on their faces. That was for the satisfaction of dramatic TV, not like it
Yeah,
needed
they
to
weren't
happen.
keeping the women in mind at all.
No, and that's one of the saddest things I think about reality TV is a lot of the time these contestants are really put through the ringer unfairly. Like they're not given situations to thrive. They're put in circumstances that will really test them and maybe make them look terrible. I do think Brooklyn being mad about being stood up, I understand the frustration of all of that, but guys, like it turns out Zach really was sick.
Yeah, it's not. I'm sorry, you can't call that being stood up.
No, you cannot.
Someone being sick or having COVID is a legitimate reason to not come. And being stood up means like someone just blew you off and didn't communicate with you.
Yeah. Have you ever been stood up?
I'm trying to think. Yes, I have been stood up. It was just on a Tinder date. Never heard back from the guy. We were supposed to go out and he just ghosted me.
Rude.
But
Yeah, this is
and
not
I also
that.
think these women should give Zach the benefit of the doubt that he wouldn't miss out on spending time with them unless he absolutely had to.
Yeah. I think everybody, this is the thing too. I think everybody was really bitter about Gabby's date. And this was just the perfect storm in terms of terrible timing of Gabby
Salt
gets to
in
go
the
on.
wound.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what this is. So I don't know. I really felt for these guys. And I thought I would have such a hard time having a good time on that date, going all around London, knowing that I was supposed to be doing it with somebody else. Like I would be grouchy about it and have a hard time giving a shit.
There was a couple funny parts of the date. Like I loved when they were trying to get a reaction out of the soldier and Kylie said, "This is how I feel with Zach, invisible." I mean,
Oh,
that's really sad, but I also thought it was pretty funny. And then did you hear Catherine say Rapunzel lives there and she was pointing at Big Ben?
oh God. No, I missed that. That's pretty good.
I had rewound it to be like, wait, did she really just say Rapunzel lives up there?
Girl, wrong story. But that's pretty funny. Yeah, I think they really did try to make the best of it. You know, chugging the beer, talking to the bartender. They really gave it their best go, but ugh. I guess I don't
Something
know
I
what the
thought was
episode. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just say, I guess I don't know what else the episode would have been, because if they'd not done anything, we would have had like 40 minutes less of an episode.
That's fair. One question I had was why Jesse wasn't the one communicating all along. Like, it wasn't until I think Zach tested positive for COVID that Jesse even, you know, became a part of the communication. And I was like, where was Jesse? Was it his day off? Like, why are we getting like all of these like weird secondhand messages from people we don't know? And then we finally get Jesse on the last part of the day.
Yeah. Was he? I think he was the one who originally came in and said, though, that Zach wasn't feeling well.
I couldn't remember. I thought it was when the girls got on the bus and the guy said that Zach wasn't going to make it and he was going to tour them around London. Or did they hear before that?
They
No,
knew
you're right. They did hear before that.
they did. But it was still weird, like the butler bringing the invite to the cocktail party rather than Jesse coming to the cocktail party.
Yeah, that's what
Or
I
not
mean.
the
It
cocktail
just
party,
felt
but like
kind
the
of,
second part of the group date, rather.
yeah, it just felt kind of weird. It just seemed like something Jesse would do.
It might have been Jesse's day off. Night off. I don't know.
And then can we talk about how Jesse, when he told them that Zach had COVID, was like, Katie, I know you're a nurse, so you understand the severity of this. It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Like, my dude, we all just went through a pandemic. I think we
Yeah, we
all
all
understand
were
the
there.
severity of this. It's, yes, we get it.
We might not have worked in healthcare, but most of us have probably had it.
Or, the fact that the world shut down for a year. We know.
Yeah. I was like, that was a weird bone to throw.
It was a weird one.
But Katie, going outside of Zach's door was really cute, and I was wondering if other women did that too, and they just didn't show it because it seems like something everyone would have done, right?
Yeah, that's so funny. I also thought that. I was like, were other women able to? Did they ask? Were they told no? Like Susie doing that to Clayton too. I just wonder, like, who gets permission to uh to do those things and who doesn't. Like, does everybody think to ask? One thing that I noticed too, jumping ahead a little bit to the virtual cocktail party, you can tell that there are rules that these girls are told to follow, because when they walk in, they're like afraid to touch anything or like pick up the iPad, which I think is less of an indication that they like didn't know how to like use an iPad and communicate with somebody, but rather production expressly tells them things that they can and cannot do. And when they don't have that direction, they're not sure. So
Yeah,
I
and they're
wonder.
worried they'll do something wrong.
Yeah. And so I wonder too, like, if Katie genuinely was maybe one of the only women to like express interest in seeing Zach, or if production knows that he's really into Katie somehow, if like production sort of allowed, because she also didn't go buy that stuff. So I don't know.
Right. It's
I do wonder
either
the logistics of like who gets to do this and who doesn't, and like how it all comes to fruition.
well, other women could have, and they just didn't show us. But or it could be Katie's producer, had that idea and set it up for her, or Katie was the only one that reached out to their producer with that idea. So
Yeah.
it's just hard because with the editing, we have no idea. I just have a hard time believing that other women wouldn't have thought about doing the same thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I have a lot of questions. There's a lot of logistics actually about this show that I wonder about. I would be really interested to hear how these things happen.
Yeah.
It is reality TV in the sense of like they're not scripting it, but it is definitely produced, and they being production pushes for certain reactions or allowing or disallowing certain things. And so I wonder what the thought process behind a lot of these things looks like. I have questions.
Well, I might have a connection to someone who used to be a producer on the show. So I will reach out and see if we can get them to come on our podcast because it would be a great resource to ask some of these more logistical questions too.
Yeah, I'm just genuinely curious how behind the scenes work on a lot of these things. I think Nick Vial does a good job talking about production and how those things play out, but like not to the level that I really want to know.
Yeah, that's It's funny. I don't know if you listened, but Juliet had Jesse on her podcast, and she was asking him really kind of in-depth questions like, what did you eat on the cruise ship on Gabby and Rachel's season? Like, what does your day look like? What are your meals? Like, how close do you have to be to production at all times? And he was like, wait, you really want to know? And she's like, yeah, I really want to know.
It's interesting. I don't know. I think about these things as somebody who's like a control freak. I want to know.
Jesse kind of described it as being like on call. So he doesn't have like a ton of time to go sightsee depending on where they are. Like he has to be within a range where he can just pop back and be ready to record, is what he made it sound like.
Yeah, to play Papa Bear to all the leads.
hmm
Give him a good old punch on the shoulder and tell him life is tough.
I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the Zoom calls.
Yeah, let's
First of
do it.
all, Allie kissing an orange, them kissing oranges together, I guess. Is that a thing? I didn't know that like making out with a piece of fruit was a thing.
I didn't know it was either. I have seen people do the really horrible bonding exercise where you pass an orange between your
Oh
chin
yeah.
and your neck, which I refuse to participate in. But no, I am not familiar with kissing oranges.
So that was bizarre.
Agreed.
And then Catherine, I think she was trying to say snog, but she kept saying snug. And my note was Catherine doesn't read Harry Potter because she's not saying it correctly.
No, she did not. I watched with subtitles. It caught it correctly on subtitles, but yeah, she did not. They didn't match. Every time she said it, I was like, man, she is not saying snog.
Snug.
Snug. I mean, we call it snugs, snuggles.
Yeah, so I can see how it'd be confusing.
Yeah, if you don't hear it completely. Yeah, I really feel for those women having to do it. I also feel like Charity should have gotten more time to really talk with Zach. Like she got to go first, but why couldn't they have like let Zach and Charity have a few hours to talk? Because
Yeah,
she could have easily had
totally.
and gotten a rose potentially at the end of that, because she got a rose regardless. Like if he was giving out roses virtually, why on earth could Charity have not gotten time with Zach just to chat and like for them to get to know each other more?
Well, it does look like she gets a date next week, if unless the preview is lying. So it's good that she gets a makeup date if my sensors are correct. I do, it would have been nice for her to at least get more time virtually since she was supposed to have the one-on-one. But maybe then the women who went on the group date would have expected a similar thing. So, slippery slope. Where does that end?
I guess that's
And
true.
also maybe Zach just like wasn't feeling good enough to be on while he's feeling sick. I don't know.
No, that's a really good point. COVID can really wipe you out. So, like, you've got a few hours in the day to do things before you really just need to go nap. So, I guess that makes sense. I don't know. I just really, I felt for all the women, but I particularly felt for Charity because, man, what a raw deal.
Yeah, for that to be the week you get on one-on-one and then have that taken away, like that's a huge blow for sure.
It is, especially, with what we talked about last week, when your one-on-one date happens between week 3 and week 5, you are potentially
Serious contender.
Yeah, you're like one of the people who could end up with Zach in the end, and to like miss out on that could absolutely mean the difference between him forming the strongest connection with Charity or, potentially missing out on it.
Yeah, that's
COVID ruining all the things.
COVID.
Yeah. Anyway, that was, I mean, I feel like it was probably I don't want to say the most humane cocktail party, but it does seem better to me than staying up late in uncomfortable clothes.
I don't know. I felt like the whole thing was so awkward and uncomfortable, but I bet it was probably better for the women to get something more than nothing, despite how I felt about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they were really invested. They all seemed to cheer up when they realized that they were going to get to spend time with Zach. So at least they seemed happier.
Did you notice the curveball they tried to do when Zach was after Zach talked to Kylie? He said, I miss Kylie. It was really nice talking to her and la 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 and then she ended up going home. I kind of saw that as them trying to throw us off the scent and think that Greer went home instead of Kylie, but nope, Greer stayed. No surprise.
Yeah, Greer definitely was always going to stay.
Do you want to talk about the awkwardness of the rose ceremony?
Oh my God. Yeah. Why was that room so small? They like
So
really
small.
packed those women in there.
The women were on top of each other.
Right. Was that the only room that had a projector? Like, what? What were we doing?
I don't know. They have to be in a hotel that has bigger rooms than that. But then again, it is Europe where everything is smaller. So,
Yeah,
but
for
the
sure.
women were just, they were on top of each other. They had to like move to so they could even get to their rose tray. But I wanted to highlight Katie's gold dress
Oh my God.
because it
Yes.
was phenomenal. Oh my gosh, I want that dress.
Yeah. These women with their dresses, their casual clothes, their jewelry, I am here for it.
Yeah, she looked phenomenal. And I loved the virtual awkward hug that Zach gave her.
Ugh.
Um, yeah, the rose ceremony was just hard to watch, and then to see Mercedes and Kylie go home virtually, I just know that they both went through so much, and to have that be the way everything ended, I think Mercedes was right when it was just like, not having the closure of even getting a hug goodbye is like really hurtful. So
Absolutely. Well, especially because
I
they
felt
ended up
bad for
staying
them.
for quite a while. It's not like
Right.
you went home the first couple weeks. Like you've now been, halfway around the world, and to just unceremoniously go home would be
Yep.
really shitty. I don't think that there's any way for them to feel good about that.
Which is why I still don't understand why they had to do the rose ceremony, but oh well.
I agree. Okay, because first off, like, can't we just send home more women the following week? Like,
Yes,
why on earth did we
totally.
have to? Because that's been done before. Why do this? And especially with only 2 women leaving, come on, you've got room for 2 women to stay another week.
Also, if Zach was, it seems like Zach has made this. Well, when I say this, it's hard to know when Zach is making the decisions and when production is making the decisions. But, they've had big shifts in the show where the lead does something unexpected and the show has to figure out how to accommodate those needs. It seems like this easily could have been one of those times where they could have adjusted to have these women stay on the show until the next rose ceremony, unless it was like some weird logistical thing where they had everything booked at the next location and there was no way to accommodate these women. But even that I feel is hard to believe.
Yeah, they literally found a second bachelorette halfway through filming the season of The Bachelorette because Claire just was like, nope, I'm done. Peace out. I found my person and left. So come on, you can't book 2 more tickets for these ladies. I'm not buying it.
Yeah, that was really disappointing. And I don't know, it seems a little careless and thoughtless.
Yeah, it's
And I feel like,
disrespectful of their time.
yeah, and I feel like Zach has shown the opposite of those qualities thus far, so I was a little surprised.
Yeah, I was too. That was really just a huge bummer all around. This whole episode was meh.
Wah wah.
Yeah. Was there anything else about the episode you wanted to talk about before we give it our drama rating?
Um, I don't think so. I'm honestly surprised we've managed to talk this much about it. I will just say after watching the episode that I was like, man, there was not a lot there. Like, what are we even supposed to cover this week?
Well, I think we possess the gift of gab and we have done it. We have talked.
Okay, good. I do actually, before we do the drama rating, can we kind of discuss the preview of next week?
Yeah. Let's do it. Because, whoa, drama.
Wow. Okay, so the part I want to discuss the most, which we can discuss all of it, but is this is an act of love, not lust comment. Does Zach sleep with someone? Question mark.
Interesting. I mean, so it was always my understanding that one, it was reserved for fantasy suites and it was always really hush hush whether or not they slept together by and large. Like, I understand that there are examples of it coming out, Clayton. But this felt like maybe, well, then, excuse me, but then watching Caitlin Bristow's season and she slept with Nick kind of at a random time, it does, I guess, seem possible that the lead can sleep with one of the girls or one of the contestants, kind of if it works out. So, yeah,
Yes.
I can totally see that happening.
I mean, I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna be super surprised if Zach does that, just because he seems so straight edge and such a rule follower. Um, Also, it just doesn't really seem he just doesn't seem like rebellious enough to kind of take the show that direction. So if he does do it, wow, that is a wild ride, and I am excited to ride it. But if he doesn't do it, they're definitely baiting us, and it might just be like
Oh, yeah, they love to bait us.
maybe they're, I don't know, he's like making out in a hotel room with someone and one of the girls sees or something and it gets blown out of proportions. Like it could be anything, right?
It totally can. I am very much invested and looking forward to whatever it is that happens because it's got to
But
be more exciting than this week.
he did say something like it's not fair to the other women. I don't know. There was just a few things where I was like, what does this mean?
You really like I don't mean to shit on Zach when I say this, but like he would have to have a superhuman amount of willpower to say no to having sex with one of these women if the opportunity presented itself, especially if it were somebody that, because there are a handful that he has like clearly got some chemistry with.
Totally true.
And
I'm sorry, that I don't mean to say that like sleeping with anyone on the show is bad.
oh,
Honestly,
no, absolutely not. And I didn't think you were. I'm just saying I don't know if Zach being a rule follower is enough.
that's totally fair.
But we'll see. Because I think you're totally right. I could buy your whole, the line too, though, that they're baiting us because the show really loves to misdirect. It gets us to tune in next week. So we'll find out. But it does look like the women's closeness is tested a little bit too.
Yeah.
So we're
I mean, but that just is like a matter of time. I think it's good that they all get along because it says that they're, I don't know, it's usually a good sign of, you know, people's character if they're able to get along in a group. So the fact that we've whittled it down to this group of women who all seems to support each other and respect each other is a sign that Zach has kept women like good women.
Yeah, that's actually such a good point. I think I don't, with the exception of like being annoyed with Greer, like I'm not actually feeling like I would be disappointed if he ended up with any of the women left.
Yeah. So I think that, unfortunately that's leaving us with less drama. But, when the closer we get with Zach and the closer we get to the end, like you can't stay friends. I mean, maybe long term off the show they'll be friends, but at this point, it's so close in the game. We're getting close to the last inning. Claws are going to come out. Things are going to get more competitive and real just because of like why these women are there, right?
Yeah. No, I think that's definitely true. Yeah. It would be really hard to be friends with women that you are competing with, actually directly competing with. You see this in sports too. A lot of the women who compete in weightlifting have to keep their competitors at arm's length, not because they don't like each other, but because you just like can't witness on Instagram your competition hitting lifts that they get in your head. And so distancing yourself and like the situation of these women is really smart because you don't want to be so distracted by another relationship that you waste time on your relationship.
Yeah, and people say, "Oh, it's not a competition." Well, yeah, ultimately it should be about falling in love and finding your partner, but when you have X amount of women dating one man, that is a competition.
It is. I'm sorry if anybody's trying to say that this is not a competition. It is. I disagree with women being each other's competition in day-to-day life, and I really hate that. And that is one of the problems with this show, but it is also part of the show. It is absolutely a competition.
Which is why we tend to like Paradise more just because it's an environment that's a little bit more realistic as far as like people having an opportunity to date whoever.
Absolutely.
But this environment also creates unique drama, so.
Yeah, it is what it is. On that competition note, I do think it's really funny. I think The Bachelor so far has been a little bit more successful in pairing couples off. And I think when you watch The Bachelorette, it is even more of a competition because the men do get so competitive with actually not really thinking long term what the consequences of winning are. And you find so many guys that get to the end and are like, oh, fuck. I'm
Actually, it's
winning. And
opposite. The Bachelorette has more successful couples than The Bachelor.
even still, with
Yep.
like the run of people not working out.
Because Bachelorettes, you have, well, I actually don't know if they're still married, but there was Ashley and oh, is it JT? JP. I don't know. There was Ashley and JP, and then there was I don't know. There's a handful, but there's definitely been more successful Bachelorette couples than Bachelor couples.
Hmm.
You
Well, the
have
past few
JoJo
seasons there have just
and you
been
have Rachel, and I'm trying to. Yeah.
there've been a lot of fuckboys though that seem to cross the paths on The Bachelorette where it feels like they don't mean, at least the last few seasons that I've watched, that don't actually intend to get to the end and then do.
Oh,
Um,
totally.
so I don't know.
I also wonder though if The Bachelor, I don't necessarily think Zach is like this, but I think The Bachelor's kind of come off their season and they have so much attention and so much like opportunities that they could continue meeting other women, and they're still kind of in this temporary limelight that I think it kind of gets the best of them. And I will say that any couple that survives after the end of the show is an exception to the rule, because these couples are basically set up to fail if you think about it. They have to keep their relationship a secret. They have to relive the experience and watch their significant other, be physical with all these other people that they were competing with. Um, there's the media, there's trolls on the internet. So any couple that can like survive months of that and then on the other side be healthy, like that is a challenge.
Oh yeah, I cannot imagine coming out the other end of this and having to like keep a relationship together when you're faced with all of that. It's a lot. Yeah. Anyway,
Should we do our drama rating?
we should. 'Tis time. Do you want to go first or would you like me to?
You go ahead.
Okay. So I'm going to rate this a 1, but in a really lame kind of way. Like I feel like this is Bachelorette's season kind of fuck up. Like this could have been done so much better. It could have been handled with a lot more care, and it just wasn't. And it felt like they threw this episode together and just hoped for the best. And we got not the worst, but definitely the lamest.
I totally agree. I'm
Yeah.
also going to give it a 1.
Yeah. I think that fits
Just
for this.
not a lot of what did we equate a 1 to? I don't remember. But yeah, just not a lot of drama to talk about.
Crab on the
I
beach.
kept checking. Yeah, I kept checking to see how much of the episode was left because I was like, what are we even doing here? So bummed for the women, bummed for Zach, but it wasn't very fun to watch.
No, it wasn't. It was not fun to watch. Um, and we'll be back when Mandy and I are together. We'll be back with our candy rating, but we weren't able to review any candy, so we didn't feel like we can sincerely give a candy review this week.
Yeah, those are funner together.
Yeah. So next week will be better, you guys. The episode looks more dramatic. There will be candy.
We'll be together.
Yeah, all the good things.
Well, Jess, thank you for making time to do this with me over the phone. I've missed you in person this week.
Yeah, I've missed you. But, distance makes the heart grow fonder. I don't know.
Thanks for everyone who has been tuning in week after week. We appreciate it more than you know. If you haven't already, we started a new Instagram account, which is drama. Is it underscore?
Yeah, Drauma_Bonded.
Yeah. So please follow us on Instagram. If you have any questions or comments or feedback, we would love to hear from you, whether it's on Instagram or our email, draumabonded@gmail.com. And yeah, we just want to say thanks again for all the continuous support and for being a part of this little project. We really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, slide into our DMs. But it's okay if you don't too.
And
We're just grateful for you listening, coming along on this journey
yes,
with us. It's been fun, and hopefully it will continue to be fun.
yeah, a little less dramatic this week, but hopefully more dramatic next week.
Yeah. Well, thanks
And with
everybody.
that, we're done.
Bye.
Bye.
Drauma Bonded is hosted and produced by Mandy Booth and Jessica Brumbaugh. Our production manager and editor is Solomon Brumbaugh. Our theme music is by Joe Waters. You can find more of his music streaming on the EP Jupiter Daywatch. Music vocals by Mandy Booth. Graphic designer is Pigeon House.